Welcome back to another VeVe Digital Collectibles video. I'm Corey and I'm here with the indispensable Dan Crothers, co-founder and COO of VeVe. Dan, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Corey. How about you?
I am excited because we have exciting things to talk about. And what we're going to be talking about in today's video is our very first Evolvables release on VeVe, and that is the Punisher from Marvel. Yeah, it's so good, Dan. Now, Dan, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this thing, we have a couple words to share from our co-CEOs.
Thanks, Corey. Evolvables represent how digital collecting continues to find innovative and new ways to reach collectors. We absolutely love the physical world of collecting, and most of us are physical collectors ourselves, but what we're trying to do at VeVe is provide new kinds of collecting experiences that can only be done digitally. Just like our collectors will be able to evolve their collectibles from common to secret rare, we at VeVe intend to continue evolving how we provide fresh and exciting experiences to our collectors. So with that, I'm going to pass over to David, who's going to talk briefly about the Punisher, which isn't just the first Evolvable to release on VeVe from Marvel, but the first appearance of the character itself in premium digital format.
Thank you, Ben. We are so happy and finally so excited to have the Punisher on VeVe. From the first appearance of the comic with Amazing Spider-Man 129 back in the 1974, the Punisher has captured a massive audience. And for those who is new onto VeVe, we do have Amazing Spider-Man 129 on VeVe in 5 different cover variations to collect, and you can read them on your app, also in AR mode. And we are so looking forward to all the creative AR and showrooms that you're going to be placing him into. But now I'm going to turn it to Corey and Dan to tell us how the Evolvable works.
All right, Dan, now that David and Ben have sort of set the dance floor for us, it's our job to dance and share with everyone how this Evolvables release is going to work. And to do that, the first thing we want to show is on screen, you're going to see all of the characters that are releasing as part of the Evolvables. Now, Dan, each one of these is releasing on a different day. Can you sort of explain why that is and what the idea behind it was?
Yeah, absolutely. We really wanted to make sure that there was a somewhat of a chase element to this whole process, and because there's a crafting step with between each of the drops, we want to make sure that we give people enough time to get the collectibles that they want, whether they're buying that off the store or the market, in order to be able to craft to go to that next step. So 24 hours, that's what we're trialing now. Obviously, this is our first one, so always open to feedback. But that's the main reason.
And on that note of feedback, if you do go to veve.me, in the bottom right hand corner, you're going to see a little widget you can click. That's one great way to give us feedback. Obviously, comments down below, that's another great way. And then follow all of our socials. We've got some really amazing community managers who are constantly monitoring our socials for feedback. But in addition to that sort of 24-hour period that you just talked about, there's also incremental pricing. What was the idea behind that, Dan?
The main idea is that, we want to make digital collecting available to as many people as we can. We do obviously understand that, price point has a big effect on that, whether people are going to come in and buy. So the way that we've structured the Evolvables drop is to really make the price points a lot cheaper. So we're looking at, in particular in the case of Punisher, so you're getting a premium digital collectible for $20. Normally would be charging double that, if not a little bit more. So $20 entry point. And then it's just, if you want to go to the secret rare, or if you want to follow the chase, then it's just incremental prices. So $6.99 for the uncommon and the rare, and $9.99 for the ultra rare and secret rare. So overall, in order for you to get to a secret rare, in this case, I believe it's $53.90 something. Can't quite math it off the top of my head.
Put it on screen if you messed it up, Dan. Don't worry.
Thank you. And it's totally a user choice if they want to get to that secret rare, and this goes an opposite to what we would typically do with a blind box, where it's all down to chance. You might have to go and pay a high amount off the secondary market. So really, it kind of puts the collectors back in control of what they want.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that control, because there's a lot of elements to control within this. And what I like about the Evolvables model is, if you're into the chase, we still have that. if you're into completing a collection, you can still do that. There's options for everyone, in addition to deflationary burn mechanics, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But speaking of chasers, the chase is on. I think that's one of our themes for Evolvables. Let's talk about the actual chaser, very unique thing with the common, the entry point into this Evolvables event. Talk to us a little bit about how that's going to work from a user perspective.
So when you buy a common, when you first participate in the drop, which is going to be a wait list to kick things off, you will have a 3% chance of securing one of these chasers. And the chaser, for those who haven't read the blog, the chaser is basically the same as the common, but with some colorway tweaks, or in some cases maybe a minor pose tweak. But it's basically very, very similar to the common. But and the other kind of cool thing is that the chasers, or the secret special edition, they will dissipate or be sold down as the common editions go down. You know, when there's the last common, there technically would be one chaser left. So people buying commons, you know, they're always going to have that chance. And we did that because, you know, we've lowered the price point of common. We've increased the editions because there's that burn, you know, and we know that our fans love that, you know, that sort of chase element of the drop.
And on the note of chasers, Dan, an important thing is set collection. You know, so a person could get all these standard collectibles together, and that would be a set. How does the chaser play into that common special edition chaser?
Yep, great question, Corey. So, you know, we're very conscious of the fact that, you know, in this case with Punisher, the chaser is only 140 editions, basically 2% of the common supply. And we know that when editions get to that low, it starts to become very challenging for people to complete the set. So if you are lucky enough to secure one of these 2% special editions, that will basically be treated in a set in its own right. So you will get points for the fact that it's a special edition, and you'll get additional daily points because it's basically its own contained set. That means that if you want to complete the Punisher set, you will need to have a common through the secret rare, and just keeps everybody a little bit happier overboard. But I know I'll be very happy if I secure one of those special editions.
You and me both. For people that have been collecting on VeVe for a while, you might see that edition number of, 6,000 plus and be like, oh, yikes. But you got to keep in mind that that's going to be immediately deflated with burns as people work their way up through the stages. So another really exciting thing about the Evolvables model is the use of MCP points to burn and move your way through the rarity ranks. Talk to us a little bit. If, we got a new user watching, Dan, they got no idea what an MCP point is. Can you break that down for them?
Basically, every collectible that you own, every comic that you own, every collectible set that you have completed, you'll get daily MCP points that will accrue in your account. And now you can use these MCP points to help advance your way through these evolvable drops. In order to go from a common to an uncommon, in the case of Punisher, the user will need to burn X amount of MCP points to basically go up the levels. And we wanted to do this because we do want to make sure that we're rewarding our users who do have a lot of MCP points. That means they're active collectors, they probably have a high rank. However, we were very cautious about the amount of points needed, because we want to make sure that, everyone can at least get involved in this. And of course, there are people out there, master collectors, who probably have millions of points, but we wanted to make sure that, the overall majority of the VeVe users could get to a secret rare if they wanted to. So it just adds another kind of exciting element, brings it more into the sort of the gamification and leverages those MCP points.
Absolutely. And for more information on the MCP program and how that works, there's a link down below in the description. You can click that, it'll take you right to the page, which gives you a great breakdown of how MCP points work on VeVe. All right, Dan, so we sort of talked about the nuts and bolts of how Evolvables is going to work. Again, reference that blog article. Everything we've said is in there. It's laid out beautifully. But let's do the fun part now. Let's take a look at each and every one of these collectibles and kind of shout out some of the amazing details, because our artists and our team internally and externally did a beautiful job with these. The quality of every single collectible that's releasing on VeVe just continues to increase. These are definitely no exception. So let's start with the common, and we're getting some nice zooms. Just look at this thing, Dan. What are some of your favorite details about this common as you look at it?
I mean, number one, I think the artist did an amazing job just with his face overall. I mean, I dare I hark back to the Electra days, but I really feel that we've come a long way. We always want to get better and better, and there's lots of different limitations that we have to deal with. So I think just the face looks amazing. Obviously his skull emblem on his shirt, and just that staunch pose that he's in. It's like, I want to lift you up.
And I'm a big fan of the textures. I think whenever you really get tight on this, whether that's in AR or using your showroom experience, or in the future, the VeVeverse, people are going to be really impressed, especially with like the leather and the boots, the nylon material of his gun belt, and the shirt itself. Unbelievable textures. And so that's the common, and there's the chance that someone might hit that chaser. And let's take a look at that chaser. Let's pop that up on screen. And I think the choice of white was really intelligent here.
Whenever we're creating these IP elements, we always need to be following the rules of what our licensor says we can or can't do. So yeah, it was really lucky that there was this approved version with Punisher, with the white boots, with the white bands, and it's just a subtle thing, but it's a subtle thing that there's only 140 of. So it's pretty cool in my book.
I agree with you. And let's move right on to the uncommon. And now we're armed up, which is exciting to see because that is what the Punisher is known for. For me, the details on this that I love the most is that facial pose, that grimace, and the weapons themselves, beautifully rendered.
Yeah, the weapons do look very, very good. And yeah, just another awesome pose. I agree with you, Corey. Yeah, his facial expression you wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley, right?
Definitely not. And with that uncommon, because there's 4,500 editions, that means that standard common is going to get burned 4,500 times. Now let's move on to the rare. Once we hit the rare, we're getting a wardrobe shift. And let's talk about that jacket a little bit, Dan, because the static animation on this is just superb.
I love it. Yeah, so it's got a beautiful idle animation, with the coat just slowly blowing in the wind. So, he can be standing somewhere, and, he's just there with the gun blowing in the wind, waiting for his next hit to come in.
Dark Justice is the name of this one, and it is an appropriate name because that's what looks like Frank Castle's about to give everyone. Some dark justice. Once they burn to the next stage, we're at the ultra rare. And the ultra rare for me is epic because we really get a shift. Like, we're adding even more elements. And that's the whole point of this Evolvables chain, is every single stage along the way, you're getting more accessories, you're getting more features. Talk to me about some of the cool features here in this ultra rare, the Skull Reaper.
Yeah, the Skull Reaper, man, I have to admit, Corey, this is my favorite out of all of them. He just looks so cool with that mask on. And, the mask is so iconic. It's obviously his emblem. And he's just standing there in that pose, gun up. Again, wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley.
FA weaponry as well. And that's an important thing. David mentioned it there in the intro that, these are all FAs as well. This is an interesting element of this drop, is it is the same character that's being evolved. So all versions of this character are an FA. And for those of you who are watching that may not be hip to our space or what FA means, that means first appearance. This is the first appearance of this character in digital premium format, officially licensed via Marvel. Super, super cool. And in the final stage where everyone wants to get to, Dan, we're going to be hitting up the secret rare, the Armored Vigilante.
Where he's in this epic pose. He's obviously mid-battle, guns cocked, ready to go. Yeah, I really, really like it. I think we're going to see some cool, fans putting together some cool scenes with some cool battles getting played out with that one.
Absolutely agree with you. And that's the beauty of all of these different poses, is that it's going to give people a lot of opportunities to do different things. A big thing with VeVe, for those of you who might be tuning in for the first time or happy you're here, is that each one of these digital collectibles can be placed in augmented reality. You can create scenes, you can add yourself into those scenes. You could drop these in a New York subway, you could drop them in, your backyard and place them and pose them. And another cool thing about this drop, which it's an additional drop outside of the Evolvables, but it ties directly into the Evolvables, is the Punisher diorama. Now, this one, for me, whenever I saw it, Dan, I was absolutely blown away. Talk to me a little bit about this diorama.
Yeah, it looks so amazing. I mean, the creative team did such a good job. And this is kind of a new type of format for diorama that you're going to see more of. We really just want to be able to capture this little scene that's designed for this particular collectible or set of collectibles to go in. And in this one here is the iconic shot. Punisher's crashed into the wall. The wheels are spinning. There's smoke coming off it. He's got a boot full of ammunition and weapons. And, you know, you can choose which one, whether it's the secret rare behind the car or if he's just standing there like, yep, I just crashed into the wall, like, who cares? Yeah, it's really, really nice. The detail that the creative team, production team have done really well on this one.
They're seeing on screen, I'm showing off some of the angles and views, and really there are just 100 details in this diorama. The interior of the car has little Easter eggs, little bits and pieces. If you're a Punisher fan, you're going to recognize some of those. The boot or the trunk of the car, for depending on where you're from, is also packed full of just an amazing arsenal. There's some beautiful lighting elements also. The reflection of the tail light, the light casting from the box. And what's really amazing about our collectibles is that they react to those light sources. So whenever you place these in, you're gonna get some beautiful reflective qualities, and you're just gonna be able to make some amazing AR content. All right, well, that pretty much wraps up all of the amazing features of our very first Evolvables release, the Punisher from Marvel, right here on VeVe. Huge pathway. Again, visit our blog, veve.me. It's linked down in the description, and feedback. If you're a longtime collector and you're like, man, I really wish that they would have done this, let us know. Like, we are making these videos, we're being more communicative because we want that feedback and we want to improve. Dan, thank you so much for coming and geeking out with me about this. And until the next video, everyone, happy collecting.